Welcome. If you're new to my world, my name is Hedy Shah. I'm a body worker and a mindfulness teacher, and I support humans to break free from the construct of today's society to create their unconditioned lives so they can turn setbacks into strength, experience greater level of vitality, creativity, and trust in their bodies through the magics of mindfulness, posture alignment, and functional strength training. Do you feel like you've been doing endless inner work, but you haven't seen your life changing as much? And you feel like you're stuck in the same loop, repeating the same cycles over and over and over again? You've heard stories of transformations and healings from different people when they started meditating, when they started following a specific therapeutic practice, and you're wondering, why isn't it working for me? I'm a big believer in the power of inner work. I've seen its transformation in my own life over the years. And I really believe that taking care of the psycho-spiritual side of our being can have a powerful impact in the rest of our life, in how well we're feeling and how we're taking care of our well-being in its truest sense, because we can do all the exercise, all the diet, all the this, all the that, but if the psycho-spiritual aspect of us are not aligned and we haven't had a chance to understand ourselves, understand our being, understand our shadow side, it's going to be really hard to navigate and take care of ourselves from that place of reverence and respect for ourselves. Even though the title of the video is about why you're not getting what you're looking for in your inner work journey, I think it's important to first talk about how healing is not linear. Healing sometimes happens in phases, in segments. You feel like you made progress and then you have setbacks. And as I love to explain it, healing happens in spiral. You feel like you're repeating the same thing over and over again, even though that can be really frustrating for some. For a lot of people, and personally, I remember the moments that I was frustrated, especially around my health, doing all the things that I felt like it was supportive for my health, but still feeling that I was stuck and I wasn't making progress. So healing happens in spiral, and you need to be trusting that process. And especially if you see a little progress and you see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and if you're there, keep moving forward, keep showing up for the work. Because one day, the accumulation of the work that you've done and the number of times that you chose to show up for yourself and for that deeper knowing inside you that healing is possible, you look yourself in the mirror and you are in awe and in gratitude for the progress you've made and who you have become along the way. I definitely experienced that in my relationship and also in my health. And I remember after dealing with autoimmune illness and PCOS and a lot of skin condition, I remember when one day I woke up, it wasn't like one day, it was like probably 5-6 years of trying different naturopathic doctors, trying different modalities of therapy, EMDR, somatic therapy, and a lot of different things, that finally I woke up and I realized that I feel like I have arrived. Like I look at my skin and my skin is clear. I'm no longer worrying about my skin that, oh, I'm going to eat this thing and I'm going to have a flare up. I'm going to do this thing and then I'm going to have a flare up. So if you're there, keep showing up, my friend. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. But the purpose of this video is around the aspects of your lives that you feel like no matter how much you're investing energy and you're doing the inner work, you're constantly stuck in the dirt and you're not coming out of the dirt. And I definitely experienced that in certain aspects of my life, that I felt like I was doing the inner work, but I wasn't seeing the result that I wanted. And recently I had this powerful meditation practice that this whole thing came through. Obviously, it's not something that I invented, but I feel like for me, the way it came through it was really powerful, and that might be supportive for you as well. So sometimes we do inner work. We keep doing the inner work to say, oh, look at me, how hard I'm working over here, but nothing changes. Almost we're doing the inner work with the intention of proving, look at me, how broken I am. Look at me. Oh, see, there is something tremendously wrong with me. Because if it wasn't, then all this work would have paid off. You unconsciously create this cycle of self-pity that the more you do the inner work, the more you prove that you're unfixable, the more you prove that there is something tremendously wrong with you, you are a fraud, and you never meant to have a good life or get what you desire or live the life that is filled with peace and grace, and all that is your intention. That's where shadow work can be insanely helpful. So we all have those unconscious part of ourselves that for whatever reason they've either been rejected, suppressed, or made wrong. So then we no longer associate with them, but they're in a way running our lives. And until that we decide to bring them into the light and confront them and hold that aspects of ourselves that will believe it's fundamentally wrong or fundamentally inadequate, and we learn how to love that part of ourselves, how to bring that part of ourselves to our conscious being, then that's when we set ourselves free. So I want you to look at your life, or in that specific context that you feel like you're not making any progress, and look at all the drama that you are unconsciously creating. For example, I'm going to use the example of you wanting to earn more money or have more abundance in your life. What you do is you maybe do some work around increasing your capacity for money, for more abundance in your life. Maybe you do meditations around it. Maybe you're doing some somatic work to increase your ability to show up in a bigger way in your life. And you also do a lot of activities around bringing more money into your life. But because the narrative that is running the show is no matter how much work you put into this, it's not going to happen. You are unfixable. You can't be someone who has a peaceful relationship with money, who is in that state of the flow of giving and receiving, right? So what happens is the foundation that you're operating out of, the reason you're doing all this work is only to prove your subconscious right, to prove your subconscious that I'm unfixable. I just can't. I always be in poverty. I always be poor. I will always be struggling. I always will have drama with money. So what happens? Maybe you're doing a lot of work around that. Maybe you're showing up. Maybe you put yourself out in the world. But the narrative is what? To prove that you can't have it. So then you subconsciously create this loop that you do all this work, and then now you're proven that you're unfixable and you can't have what you want. And no matter how much you're trying, abundance is not going to be part of your life. This example can be replicated in health and well-being. It can be replicated in your relationship. But when you actually acknowledge that subconscious pattern that is running the show, the part of you that is desperately feeling unloved and feeling that it doesn't belong, and it can belong into the category of people that they have a peaceful relationship with their partner, or they have this healthy life. When you hold that part of you that we often consider dark or we consider negative, that we're not even allowing that part of us to come forward, to show their concerns, to show their fears, to show the depth of hurt that they feel by feeling inadequate. Now we can move towards doing all that work, no longer to prove our unworthiness, but rather we're doing that work from a place of reverence, from a place of peace, from a place of knowing that we get to have that, we get to create that. There's that deep sense of faith that, yes, this is my deepest desire, and it is safe for me to create it and have it and experience it fully in my life. The interesting thing is, when this kind of pattern shows up, oftentimes you feel like you're actually working really hard. You almost feel like you're torturing yourself, even when it comes to the inner work. So you're trying to do more inner work, you're reading more books, you're doing more and more and more and more, because you believe that maybe if you do more and more and more, then you might have a way out. What happens when you understand the underlying driver of your decisions and the way you show up through shadow work and through awareness, maybe you actually stop doing a lot of stuff and the activities and the physical realm that you're doing. Because for the first time, you recognize that the reason you're doing them is not to actually create abundance, to prove your subconscious right. And then you realize that actually the kind of abundant life that you want to live is not being created by the activities you currently are doing. And then that's when you start feeling this shedding skin. Like you feel like you're really stripping away a lot of things that you're doing, and you're decluttering your life from activities, from people, from narratives that you're telling yourself, from behaviors. So as we are in the beginning of 2025, and I know so many people these days set resolutions, goals, and what we can do more of. I created another video about, before you add more, can you simplify first? Can you declutter first? And then also, if there is something that you really been working hard towards and hasn't worked out, I highly recommend sitting down with the current narrative and the dramas around that specific subject matter, that specific part of your life that you believe is not working, and reflect and see, why are you doing this? Is there anything else that unconsciously controlling your life? If this resonated with you and you want to do some more work around this to dig a little bit deeper, I have some journal prompts for you that I highly recommend sitting down and doing some journaling practices. And when you're doing this journaling practices, I want you to really cultivate that sense of presence, that you're holding space for all parts of you, the parts of you that you consciously are aware of and the parts of you that you're not aware of. So the first question that I want you to reflect on, is there a fear or belief holding me back from pursuing something I desire? Do I secretly feel I don't deserve good things, and how does this belief show up in my life? What would it feel like to accept the parts of myself that I've been hiding or rejecting? What message does my shadow have for me if I truly listen to it? How can I face self-compassion as I face uncomfortable truths about myself? As you're writing and reflecting on this, I want you to cultivate as much compassion as you can. I also have a meditation on my YouTube channel around inner child healing, and I highly recommend you doing that maybe after your journaling practice. I want to leave you with this writing that came through after this particular meditation, and I'm hoping that you can keep that close to your heart as you're discovering more about the side of you that is filled with magic and beauty. Child, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need all the inner work to prove your wrongness to yourself. You spend so much of your energy to prove your wrongness to yourself. But my beautiful, there's nothing wrong with you. Drop the shame, the guilt, and the smallness. Let the inner work show you ways of stepping into your joy, embracing your wholeness, setting yourself free. Thank you for tuning in this new year. If you want to take charge of your well-being and take care of all aspects of you, check out the free resource I put together for you. It's called 5 Lifestyle Guide. They are in-depth yet tangible, accessible well-being practices that you can take charge of your nutrition, movement, nervous system regulation, and so much more.